Fantastic. Okay. All righty. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you all are in the world. Thank you for joining us today for our monthly Global Chamber Export Import Forum. I am the moderator, Anita Rodal, president of SBPI Services. SBPI Services helps importers, global companies, real estate investors save money and time on their cross border payments. We also broker business and equipment loans, inventory financing, and medical and accounts receivable factoring. Now, for anyone who is not already familiar with the Global Chamber is a growing collaborative community of CEOs, executives, business leaders, and business leaders in over 525 metro regions around the world. And its mission is to foster growth in trade, investment, and cross border business in every region of the world. Our forum today is 55 minutes long, and the last 5 or 10 minutes will be reserved for Q&A and conversation. So in the meantime, please keep yourselves muted. And I do invite you to put your contact information in the chat. Please include your full first name and last name so that people can find you. If you have your LinkedIn link handy, put that in as well. Email is always good. Phone number is great. And don't forget to save the chat, even though I know that Jem will send it to you, but it's good practice. Anyways, today we are very, very, very lucky to have the amazing Ariel Michaelli with us. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Ariel. Actually, Ariel, say hello, just one word so your picture pops up
Yeah,
in my
hi
speaker field.
everybody. Hello from Israel.
Perfect. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, there you are. Okay, fantastic. All right. So let me tell you about Ariel. First of all, Ariel lives in Carmiel in northern Israel, a town of 50,000 people surrounded by beautiful olive groves, where it is currently 10 o'clock at night. So we especially appreciate him being willing to do that. It's normal hours for him, but we'll make it look like it's a sacrifice. Ariel graduated with a degree in physics from Technion Institute of Technology in Haifa, Israel. And for 15 years, he worked as a systems engineer and project manager at Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, where he managed interdisciplinary tech projects. He also ran a retail tech startup company in Haifa with a team of 40 engineers, including Muslims, Christians, and Jews, all working together as a team. Ariel, as you will see, is a serial entrepreneur, mentor, and advisor, and this is not an all-inclusive list. At the beginning of COVID in 2020, he founded SO R&D, an enterprise dedicated to helping companies bring their visions of sustainable products to life. In 2021, he founded Syncope, a company that develops technology for coherent acoustic sensing, figuring out where things are. In 2024, Ariel founded the impact-driven Northern Israeli Tech Fund to support tech startups who are disrupting global markets and providing high social and environmental value. The free version, and then last but not least, early this year, Ariel launched a software as a service platform called Cohesion, which helps communities become self-sufficient. They have a free version of Cohesion, and that is an intuitive app that lets people anonymously send data to local service providers, such as first responders, and get feedback that help is on the way. Obviously, very important in Israel. In his spare time, if you can believe it, or not, Ariel works with local schools on social initiatives and practical sustainability workshops. And he's also a volunteer with a group called Closing Ranks that provides emotional and pragmatic support for youth in their 20s. Welcome, Ariel. That was a lot.
Everybody, yeah.
Okay, so those of you who have been out before know the format. I ask three ice-breaking questions, and then we get into the meat and potatoes of what we are going to talk about. So these are just three quick questions. They're kind of like boom, 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 first thing that comes to mind. So Ariel, first question is, what got you into what you're doing right now?
Well, I'm building sustainable products, right? So the thing that got me into this is playing Lego as a child, Technic Lego. Also, I had lots of spare time thinking about like our relationship with the planet. So after that, it took like 20 years more to get the technical experience so I can start doing something about it. But that's how I got here.
Okay, fantastic. All right, what do you like the most about what you do?
Ah, to see the glint of creativity in someone that takes ownership of some product or a part of the product or a feature, to see them like own it, and then they can feel free to design it as they will, and to see that they are free to create, that's everything for me.
Awesome, awesome. And I know that firsthand because Ariel is helping me on a project I'm doing for cat toys. Um,
And
okay,
I
the
see
flip
the
side.
glint in your eyes.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I can't wait to bring it to the world, and you're like so key in that. Okay, the flip side of the question is, what do you like the least about what you do?
Oh, sometimes products fail and companies fail, and sometimes it's okay because like they should, the concept was not right or time in the timely fashion, but sometimes it's for the wrong reasons, and this is what disappoints me the most. Like if it's a misunderstanding or like a deadline passed that someone just missed the deadlines, this is that good ideas should not pass because of these stupid reasons.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, and that's, ooh, I will keep that in mind. Okay. So now we're going to get into the questions that are about you because you have so much expertise and knowledge in your brain. So, first question I want to ask you is this: you have worked with a wide variety of companies and industries. What are your areas of expertise?
In a word, it's product design. I'm a physicist, and I have experience in electro-optics and computer vision. And I've served, as you said, as a systems engineer and a product manager and then a project manager in various C-level positions in startups. I created a company to build sustainable products, or I think more accurately is like we build products sustainably, in a sustainable fashion. You know, it can be security products, it can be medical products, but we think of like the whole life cycle of the product, from development to use to maintenance to end of life, and try to make all of this work out in the big scale.
Very, very cool. They say in business you should always know your exit before you get into whatever you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's the same for a product. You can't, if you do care about the environment and long-term success of a product, you have to think about what happens after the launch and what happens to
Yeah.
the product itself. So that makes perfect sense. Okay. So, among other things, you are the chief technology officer of a healthcare startup. This is not the same one that I mentioned in your bio, and whose software analyzes physiologic markers to enhance patient medication management and provides in-depth continuous passive monitoring using smart wearables. Now, for those of you that don't know that term, I didn't until I looked it up. A smart wearable is a piece of technology that's designed to be worn on the body. It could be like a watch, a piece of clothing, and it incorporates electronic components and sensors to collect and transmit data. So my question to you is, what are some of the challenges you have faced in scaling up this product, and how do you address them?
Well, in Illuria, as you said, we collect data from smart watches, like physiological data. And the main challenge we faced is finding the sweet spot, I think, between being agnostic to all kinds of smart watches. So we don't have to like to provide the actual hardware with the product, so anyone who has a smartwatch can use it. But most of the smartwatches, if you take their data, it's useless for advanced analytics because they take it for like sports use case. And if we do a medical startup and we or wellness and we need to get accurate data, that's not very good. So there's a sweet spot between being robust for a lot of various platforms, various smartwatches, and getting accurate data enough for analytics. And the way we address this challenge is focusing, reducing the value proposition by focusing on several very popular smartwatches and focusing only on them. So we will not serve all watches, but for them, we get the accurate data that we need.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So some people would say that software products are easier to globalize than physical products. One of your companies is now launching a new software product in the circular economy domain. Do you agree with that statement? Before you answer, let me just let everybody know what the term circular economy means, because again, I wasn't familiar with it until I looked it up, but it's kind of about what we were touching on here. Um, The circular economy is a model of production and consumption that aims to minimize waste and maximize the value of resources by keeping products and materials in use for as long as possible. Okay, now you can answer the question. What do you agree with that statement that software products are easier to globalize than physical products?
No, I don't. Yeah. Uh, if you think about it, like software products should be very easy. It's like one click and your software is on online stores or cloud servers, and everybody in the world can access them. But and that's true, right? And hardware products, you need to ship them, you need to maintain them, you need to get through customs, right? It's much harder. But when you think about that, what happens after you tap that click and that product is on the online store or the cloud server, then you'd have to think about cultural considerations and language barriers and local customs that make this product usable or valuable to that community or to this user base. So you end up having local presence of people that you weren't planning for, just to get to know the local cultures or local use cases, so you can adapt the product to that local community. So no, I don't think it's easier to globalize software products, but the nature of the challenge is different.
And then sometimes you have software products that are combined in physical products. Now you have both problems that you have to deal with. So, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, you worked at Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, a major Israeli defense contractor with a global clientele. What can small startups learn from big companies that can help them succeed globally?
Well, big companies like Rafael, they spread the risk over wider domains. They have like more resources, more strategic point of view, and they plan for longer times, right? And startups, they dream big, yeah. But when you talk to them, uh, apart from the big dream, they need product validation, and they are looking on the next round of investment, and they're looking for early adapters like the clients that are going to use this first to get the traction, to get first sales. They are looking short term, and that's okay. But I don't think they need to focus only on that, because if they learn from big companies to look ahead, to imagine how the product that they're developing or their company will look like when they're scaled up, then they can make better results at the short-term goals that they set to themselves. Because at the end, what's their exit strategy? Yeah, it may be being purchased by a big company, right?
Mhm.
And big company thinks like big company, as I said earlier. So if they learn to talk their language, there's a better chance of them being purchased by that company.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Okay, next question. In your experience as the CEO of a hardware product company in the security sector, are there any special considerations to keep in mind when A, developing hardware products in general, and B, specifically for the security and homeland security markets?
Well, in hardware products, you have to plan lots of time ahead, because making changes in hardware costs much more than making changes in software, right? So you have to think of your bill of materials, and you have to think of how to design to manufacturing. So it will be easier to manufacture and make your design modular because of all the things that you cannot think right now that you're going to face later on. So if you build that product modular, it will be easier to adapt to arising risks that may happen. If your product contains batteries, you need to worry about transportation because you cannot transport batteries without appropriate regulations, right? If you're like fire safety regulations and customs, if your product contains communication, you should really know where you're sending your products to, because each country has its own regulations about how communication devices enter this country. So it's important. You need to worry about your hardware not containing hazardous materials. The RoHS regulation. You need to worry about what quality of service. You have a hardware in another continent. Who's going to maintain it? If it breaks down, you need a local service team to give service, right? If it fails, you need to have a lot of stock in order to replace them. Where are you going to keep that stock, right? So there's lots of other considerations, including how to make this the mean time between failures longer, so the product will live longer. Although we know of some companies who try to make the product live less, so you can buy another one. I don't subscribe to that point of view. And at the end, we said life cycle, right? When the product ends its life, who's going to use that material? Are we just going to throw it away? I don't think we can afford anymore to not think about that stage. So in general, hardware, there are a lot of things to consider, and the best advice I can give is ask somebody who is a professional at it. I use lots of professionals for specific topics, and if you don't know which professional, you can talk to me. And for security and homeland security specifically, all of these is double important because there are harder restrictions about supply chains, like which country can this component of the bill of materials come from. And there's consideration of EMI, electromagnetic interference with other devices nearby, or a harder NTBF, mean time equal failure considerations to take place. So all of what I said is doubly so on security and homeland security applications.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, in terms of like recycling, like something mundane that, let's just say, has, maybe it's no bigger than this, but it has a plastic frame. Companies thinking about, like, do we make it out of a material that's recyclable? Like every city, I don't know how it is in Israel, but here in the US, like from city to city, they have different recycling um, capabilities or who they contract with. So my city, I can do 1, 2, and 5, but the next city over, they can do 1 through 7, all of them. And then the number 4 is the plastics. Everybody drops off at their, like plastic bags. They'll take that to a recycling bin at their supermarket. So in everyday products, do people think about, I have this big mass of plastic that is housing my product or my technology. Should I make sure that it's, a number 1 or a number 2 recyclable so it can be recycled in the majority of places? Like, do they even think about those things? Or is that what you're pushing them towards?
About the companies who make the products?
Yeah. So the people who are manufacturing, do they specify, I know it has to be a plastic shell. I want it to be plastic that is recyclable or plastic that has already been recycled, like using recycled materials, kind of a thing.
Yeah, there are, I think, standards of symbols that you see on the product, right? That says that which bin you need to throw that in. I know in Israel we have on containers, like food containers, like we have the orange bin, because orange is for recycling packages, right? It's like food packages you got to throw there. So we actually see an orange bin on the package. So this is what I think companies should look like. If in the US, I think there's US is more mature than the Israeli market when considering recycling and a lot of more awareness of customer awareness of this. And so I'm sure that there are lot more standards to take into account, and companies in the US need to know them because it will increase their sales because customers are aware more. And if they see these symbols, okay, I'm in good hands, right? This company, they think ahead. I will buy their product, right? This is how I think in Israel, but I have less availability of these kinds of products.
Yeah, you just got me thinking that it's different from country to country. And I know it is because when I go to Spain every year, they recycle differently. They have different bins for like the Tetra packs and other things because they package things differently. But every country, most countries, at least that I've been in, seem to have some kind of a system, whether it's more developed or less, for starting to recycle. So then another challenge would be, wow, is there's nothing unified from country to country. If you buy something on Amazon in the US, or you buy the same product manufactured in the US, but it's being sold on Amazon in Spain,
Yeah.
how do you translate the recyclability? Like, because I will look for stuff like that before I buy something. All things being equal, I want to make sure it's recyclable to the fullest extent possible. So that's just wow. We have a long way to
I
go.
think the common denominator I think between all countries is maybe it's not about how you recycle your products, is that uh, do you really need to buy this product? And this awareness, I don't think it exists in any country today, not in the US, not in Israel, and probably many other places where the listeners of this webinar from. Um, do we really need all the products that we buy? Like companies make it so easy, just one click and you buy the next stuff, but do you really need it? So if there's one thing maybe people can take from this conversation is that think twice if you need to buy this, because recycle is like the third option, fourth options at the end of the way. The best products is the one you didn't buy.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, wow. Okay, let's see. Having worked with a startup company in retail tech, what did you learn from that experience with regard to scaling up products?
So we talked about hardware products, right? And that there are these harsh conditions. So supermarkets are one of the harshest environments for products on earth. I once met with Doug McMillan, the CEO of Walmart, and for the startup company I worked in, and I was talking about how to introduce tech on carts in supermarkets, and he said, our carts are being brutalized. Okay, so we had to rethink the entire concept of how to put tech on carts and to make it minimal and to make it like adapt on existing carts, and there's lots of considerations to take place. So I think that generalization of what I was saying is that the sunk cost fallacy, you know that sunk cost fallacy, it says like you invest in something, you invest in the product or the idea, and you already invested, and sometimes you come to a point where you see that it doesn't work anymore. You need to change something. You need to stop. Maybe this product is not right for you or for the world, and lots of people don't stop at that point. They don't want to see that. They don't want to think that about themselves, that they make mistakes. But making mistakes is not bad. Making mistakes is something you can learn from and take the right path, right? So the sunk cost fallacy is something that I think we can learn from that experience. Is like knowing where to stop and rethink your strategy.
It's like, in a lot of products, they like if it's a food product, sometimes they can change an ingredient, and then they slap a little like a sticker on there saying new and improved, you know. It's harder to do that with physical products. But okay,
Yeah.
so it's interesting when you're talking retail tech, for some reason my mind went to like clothing stores and you were talking about grocery stores. So what industries does retail tech refer to, or is it anything where you're buying something, which is basically everything on the planet?
Well, retail is general, right? Not only food retailers, also clothes. I work in a company for supermarkets, food retailers. But yeah, retail tech is a domain for all retail.
So whether you're buying it online or going into a store and purchasing it, any of the technology that gets it out the door allows it to function. I mean, does retail tech refer to the store itself helping people buy the stuff? Because they're not helping manufacture it because they're the retailer, right?
The term retail tech is not very strict, I think, as in all these acronyms. I hear lots of titles of domains, and I work at the fund right now, and each startup comes and says like, I'm in this specific domain, and I haven't heard of that before, but it says it's like food tech, like in another direction. So yeah, retail tech, you can interpret it like any way you want regarding retail, clothes, food. Yeah,
Okay.
I
All right.
think so.
But it refers to the seller, not the buyer,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah, the
Okay,
retailer.
perfect. Okay,
Yeah,
got it. Perfect.
yeah.
I love that there's latitude there. It's a good thing. You are head of deal flow at the Northern Israeli Tech Fund, so you spend a lot of time evaluating startups. Statistics show that most startup companies fail to expand beyond their local early adopter customer base. I don't know if that's a nice way of saying that they fail in general, or they just don't grow and then they die because they didn't
Both.
grow. But from your point of view, what things can entrepreneurs do to avoid this so that they can scale and grow?
Well, as the head of deal flow at NAT, I had the privilege of interviewing like 75, more than 75 now, startups in Israel. And I think two things I can generalize from what I learned from, because it was a learning experience. Um,
Yeah.
One is, if you know the pain points of your clients, and if you know yourself, your strength and weaknesses as a person, as a team, as a product, startups who know these two things can go a long way. If you have a great solution, but you missed knowing the pain point of your clients and you were in love with your solution, you will probably fail. It will come later because you've invested so much time developing that solution you so love. And so you need to know both at start or in early stages. And startups who do this, they go the long way, I think. Yeah. And when you know yourself, you can complete yourself, your team, with people who are with the right expertise. And in different stages of the startup, of the company, maybe different people with different skill sets are needed, and you need to be aware of that in order to be the most accurate team and most accurate solution at this point of time of the product lifecycle or the company lifecycle. Pain points of the clientele is differing between region and maybe in the same region different times. So these 2 points, knowing the pain point of your client and knowing your own strength and limitation, these are the differentiators between startup who can go a long way and startup who will be limited. Maybe not dead, maybe they will only have a limited impact on community, and they want to have a big impact on the global scale, right? So know these two things.
So if somebody starts out, I mean, obviously, if they talk to you, I mean, if they come to you with a finished deck and they say, we want funding, blah, 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 and they haven't thought through those things, they're not going to go very far. But how many of them, after talking to you, will go back and say, "Oh, I see where there's a weakness here because I didn't look at it." Like you said, they were in love with. They come up with the solution and they're trying to make the solution fit a population rather than finding the problem they're trying to solve for the person that owns that problem. Like in my
Yeah,
case, I'm designing cat toys for busy cat parents. I am a busy cat parent, so I know what I need. But somebody who's thinking on something that's a much bigger level, like how can they if they aren't quite there yet when they present to you and you point out, well, you're not clear on what the problem is you're solving for, do the majority of them go back and say, we'll fix that and it makes them better obviously in the long run? Can they come back to you and say, okay, we've thought it all out, here's the new presentation, and then you know try and get funding at
yeah,
that
yeah,
point?
yeah, yeah. It was so on the point, I think, what you said, because I don't want to be a kind of VC fund that is like judging the startup, and if it doesn't make sense, then go away. No, it's a process. And when I initially talk with the entrepreneurs or the team, it's not a test. I try to find the good values or what's special about their idea or their company, and try to reflect to them what what's missing in their product, in their proposition, or what's missing in their product, and 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 then they go and they thank me and they go and fix it, and then we meet again. So it's a process, and when you think of it like this, you remember what I like the least about my job is like when product
Yeah.
fail for the wrong reasons. So this is one of the wrong reasons. Like if you judge people too quickly, because you only get a snapshot, of a person's life or a company for like in half an hour or an hour, like the snapshot we have now, like, right? So who are you to judge what's going on of these people's head? Maybe they got off on the wrong foot this morning and they don't present their idea very carefully. Maybe that. Speak to them again. Maybe the right idea is hidden inside their head and you will find it out a week later. Don't rush it. I think.
Interesting. God, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
As you mentor early stage Israeli startups and entrepreneurs, what advice do you give them about globalizing?
Well, early stage, I think it's all about imagination. I think product
I
in
like it.
general is about imagining how the world could be, right? But in the early stage, on the stage of conceptualization, of the product, you need to imagine a lot. And and I see a lot of early stage startups um, make a concept, like the first concept they thought of, and it makes sense, and then they run to implement it. But I advise them not to run. You found the concept, think how it's going to be used, who is going to use it, what's the environment, what's already there. Maybe there's a product, you're not googling it, but there's a product there that's already doing your concept, right? So invest time in this conceptualization phase and don't run to implement it, and make like the alternatives analysis. And in my experience, every time I made an alternative analysis for one of my products or projects, I came up like, if I had four alternatives and then we made a discussion, we ended up choosing a fifth alternative we didn't think about at first, because the process of making this alternative analysis is what helps you think, imagining what actually can work. So this is my advice for early stage startups. Don't rush. Stay in the conceptualization phase. Although you want clients, you want money, you want traction, you want investment, stay. It will be worth it. It is the quicker way to get to all these short-term goals.
That makes total sense. And I just know from our conversations when you talked about batteries, and I hadn't even thought about batteries. And then as a result, I found not only a green battery, I found one that like won't be problematic if I'm shipping. And like I never even knew to look at them. I just assumed batteries, then I'm going to need batteries. So I think that the byproduct of having these discussions, especially with early stage, because that's where you have the most room to move and to adjust and to pivot. When you're, when you're not committed to, you haven't paid for the molds yet. You haven't, you're not locked into a manufacturer. I think that's like the freest part if you can cherish it for what it is, which is hard because the earlier you are, the worse you want to get it out into the world because you're so much further away, right? It's like it's an oxymoron. You're here, you want to be here, but this is where you have the freedom to think about how you're going to get there and do it more purposefully because you have no pressure. You haven't put money towards something yet. You haven't committed to something that you're going to need to change. So
Yeah.
I very much appreciate that perspective. Um, okay,
And I
different
think you
fields.
implemented yourself, I think, from our conversations. Yeah. You are great at conceptualization and you know how to ask for help and you know how to consult you yourself, like with our previous conversations. And
Yeah,
this
thank
is
you.
so important for the early stage startups. And many of them miss this and they start running at once and never ask questions like you did. So I really appreciate like what you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And it just reminds me that it's going to be what it's going to be. Like I'm exactly where I need to be because if I had rushed ahead, I wouldn't have had a conversation with you asking a question that needed to be asked. Because,
Yeah.
often you don't know what you don't know. And I don't care how much experience you have. Every new product is a new experience, and there's always a part of the puzzle that you don't even know what it is yet. Right.
Yep.
So thank you, though. Thank you. Okay, different fields and industries obviously have specific challenges. What are some of the commonalities you've seen, no matter where these companies are headed, or what industries they're in?
Well, I think I'll answer like a very general answer for this,
Sure.
um, because we talked about so many different domains. I think the common challenge is the field of view. What's your scope? Um, and what guides me the most when I invent a new product is the question, what kind of world do I want my kids to live in? And in that world, does that product fit? Maybe it needs to change. Maybe in that world, we need other product. Maybe the best product is the one you didn't make, you know. And the challenge is then try to think as if you own the earth. You own it. We are the stewards of the earth. We own it. Make
Yeah.
the earth as you plan, as you design it, because it's only us here, right? And the world is a small place after all. You're in the US and I'm in Israel, and everybody's here from different places around the world. It's a very small world, and making products can be great to improve our relationship with each other or with this planet. Try to build that wide perspective, like they said, the perspective that astronauts get when the first time they get into space and they see this world, like the globe. This kind of perspective, I want every early stage entrepreneur to be aware of, to imagine the world and then go to work.
I love that. And hopefully more people will adopt that perspective. I think everything will be better. The products will be better. It'll be better for the earth. Because something that's good for people and good and sustainable, that's a product that people want to invest in. That's a product that people can get behind. That's a product that people want to buy. And at the end of
Yeah,
the day, that's the goal, right? That
yeah. It's not like a philosophy. It's very pragmatic approach, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It makes perfect sense. Okay, perfect. So those are my questions. I want to open it up now to Q&A. So everybody is welcome to put their cameras on and to unmute themselves. And if you have a question, you can raise your virtual hand by either hitting the icon or hitting Alt Y, and that will raise your virtual hand, and I can call on you. And ask any questions that you might have. And if nobody has questions, I will come up with some additional questions, I guarantee you. So, Elizabeth, you usually have a question.
I don't have a question right now, but I will come up with one.
Okay. And just so you
Oh,
know,
I do
Ariel,
have, excuse me, I do have, actually, I just recently saw that we're working with some companies in the coffee sector. And what you were talking about the sustainability, and I just noticed that they're starting to require manufacturers to monitor, to be responsible for the recycling of the products, which I thought was interesting because that's at the manufacturer's level.
Yeah, I think the manufacturers are the best ones to reuse or recycle the products that they're making, because they have all the infrastructure in place. So that's a good call. The challenge there is about transport. Like, if their product is already used, how does it go back to the manufacturer? That's the challenge. But I think it's a good approach.
Yeah, I found it interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
and piggybacking on that, so like I don't do like the K cups or anything, and I just have always thought those are the most, when they came out with those, I was horrified um, on behalf of the environment. But for example, the some of the protein bars I eat in copious amounts. I hate throwing away the wrappers. I just found out that the manufacturer has contracted with a company to manufacture the wrappers. I mean, to recycle the wrappers. So when I think of the hundreds that I've thrown away over the last 10 years, I want to cry. But I started a box of wrappers. And like I even wrote to them, I said, I tie them in little knots because if you just throw a bunch of wrappers, they take up a lot of space. They're like, no problem, you can tie them in knots, that's fine. And I've told my entire family. And so we're gonna go in on a box, and when it's full, we will send it back to this place that recycles these wrappers. I have no concept of how it happens. It's driving me nuts. I'm gonna have to ask because I like to visualize things. But the fact that they're doing that, and that the manufacturer of the protein bars took it upon themselves to find a solution for recycling the wrappers has made me a fan. Like,
Mhm.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. It's amazing. So yeah. Um, Lauren, long time no see.
Right.
Um, and
I will
I don't know
lower
if you've
my
ever met.
hand. I have not met Ariel. Nice to meet you.
Hi,
Na'im
Lauren.
Ma'od. How are you? How's everything? Where are you, in Israel now?
Now it's quiet.
No, okay. Yeah, well. Where
Yeah,
are you though? In
currently
Tel
these
Aviv?
days.
Whereabouts?
What?
Where?
He's up in
A4.
Carmiel in North
Okay,
Carmiel.
okay. Got it. Sorry,
Yeah,
I wasn't
currently
here at the
quiet in
beginning.
Israel.
I apologize. So I had a question. So, I've been working with Israeli companies. I'm an international lawyer. And as you can see, I've been working with Israeli companies over time, and I still do. Often I'm helping with career choices and career development. And one of the things that I noticed, and I'll just throw this out there. One of the reasons I started, it was called Israeli Innovation Bridge. And one of the reasons I started it was because when you're a tech guy or a startup guy, or even a business development guy in Israel, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to adjust to doing business in America or Europe or Canada or North America. And there's big cultural differences. And I don't know if you'll agree, but I'm assuming you will, because even here in America, tech people doesn't mean they know how to run a business. Just because they have an amazing tech idea or, a brilliant startup, they don't know how to run a business. And I just was with a colleague of mine because we're developing these fractional legal, fractional marketing, fractional COO services. And I think that that's just that much more prevalent because Israelis, we have a different mentality, Israelis, right? And you look at things differently and you think that, oh, everything we do is right. Right? So I think that learning curve is a hard one because they're like, oh, I have this brilliant idea, but I really don't know how to get it to penetrate the market. And I think that that's a big piece of the puzzle. I'm assuming you are agreeing since you're nodding.
I really agree, and I think that's a very good value that you bring to them, that perspective. It's like a mirror. You tell them, okay, you're a hotshot in Israel. It doesn't mean anything.
It means nothing. And I'm dealing with people because, look, I'm dealing with a lot of people right now that are coming to Florida, particularly to escape anti-Semitism in various places in the world. Okay, not in Israel. But they're also leaving Israel because their kids are stressed. And it's a big, like the cultural adjustments, the mentality, the keeping as Anita and I were talking on our prior call about having an open mind when you're a globally minded business owner. Israelis tend, it's a stereotype, not to be so globally minded, right? So we have to make them globally minded to be successful globally.
Stereotype. I don't think we can generalize, but you surely can help people know their blind spots.
Yes, blind
And
spots.
everybody has blind spots, and the way to mitigate that risk is communication. Talk with people. Talk with people who are not like you, from different parts of the world, different cultures, different professions. This is what we're doing right now, right? I think this is the way to make it globally. This is why Global Chamber works, because we interact, and this interaction is a learning curve, shortens the learning curve for everybody here.
Yeah. And do you have contact info? Are you sharing that, Ariel?
I shared that at start. I will share it. Yeah.
Thank you. Todarba.
Very good question and issue that you're raising.
Please be safe.
We will.
I'm Israel Chai. Thank you.
Awesome. And this, just a reminder, everybody, please put your contact information in the chat. Include your LinkedIn. Definitely include your full name if it's not already on your little Zoom square, so that people can find you. And Ariel, did you put your information in there already?
Yeah, I'm putting it again so everybody can see if they want to reach out. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? So now you know who to go to for technology-oriented things. Ariel has worked with people all over the world. That includes the US. And has such a breadth of knowledge. He totally blew me away. I called him to ask one question. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh my goodness, he knows answers to things I haven't even thought of to ask yet. And it's been amazing. It's been an eye opener. And
it's mutual, Anita.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up because we need to finish up by 12:55 anyway. Ariel, anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you, by the way?
I think not. And everybody, if you have things questions or things you're not sure about technology, all the things we talked about, I'm available. Please contact me on LinkedIn. I'm looking on it, my account, and I will reach out back, and it will be very valuable to both of us.
Thank you. And hopefully those of you like Elizabeth that work in export here from the US, for export, there's an import on the other side of the world. So I see a lot of potential collaboration between people as products and technology, in this case, move around the globe. So that's great. So thank you to everybody for joining us for today's Export-Import Forum. And special thanks to Ariel Michaelli for your brilliance and for being willing to jump on a call at 10 o'clock at night your time. If you enjoyed today's discussion, I hope you'll join us for next month. Our next month's Export Import Forum. It's always the fourth Thursday of the month, which is not always the same thing as the last Thursday of the month. In this case, it'll be July 24th, not the 31st. I do not have the title of that yet, but you can still sign up and be surprised. But also be sure to check out the Global Chamber's calendar events for anything. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you're like me, you can't sleep, it's 1 a.m, go find an event that's going on in India or Israel or somewhere else where it's already midday. You can talk to somebody. And just remember that being global is not just good, it's great. And use the Global Chamber as a resource. Reach out to people. This is why we're a member of this group. It's fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ariel. Great presentation.
You.
Very much.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.